I'd planned on hunting over the last few days, but I hadn't planned on Hurricane Zeta coming through. Well, Tropical Storm Zeta now, and it just got through blowing through here. So we'll just say the weather has not been very conducive for hunting. So instead, I wanted to talk about something that's really bothered me lately, and that's all of the problems with Remington Arms Company this year. And for those of you that haven't heard, Remington declared bankruptcy, and the different divisions have been sold off. Remington Ammunition it was bought by the parent company of Federal Ammunition. And let's see, Strom Ruger, they bought out Marlin, which Remington had bought some years ago. So Marlin's now going to be owned by Ruger, which might be a great thing for Marlin. And then, let's see, I forget the name of the group that bought out the actual firearms division of Remington. I'd never heard of them before, and I can't find out much about them, but what little bit I know, they seem like good people, so I'm hoping this works out. But I was really puzzled, and probably like a lot of you that have heard about this, how on earth does a U.S. arms manufacturer and ammunition manufacturer go out of business with record firearm sales and ammunition sales? So I started digging into this. And basically, COVID finished off Remington. I mean, that's pretty much what happened. The governor of New York, he shut down the state, and Remington, their main plant, was in Ilion, New York. Well, he deemed them not necessary, so their plant had to shut down for COVID. And that was just the death knell for Remington right there. So they declared bankruptcy. So basically COVID finished them off. But like so many of the COVID victims, there were a lot of underlying conditions that Remington had that led to this, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. Now, as many of you are aware, the quality at Remington's been going downhill for a couple of decades now. And the brand's just been diminishing. And that's been painful for me to watch. And it's been painful for a couple of reasons. First of all, because of the last Remington rifle I bought. This Model 700 BDL right here. And if you look, there's a big chip right here missing in the bottom metal on the paint. And it didn't come that way. That was me. But the first time I looked at this bottom metal in good light after I bought this rifle, I had instant buyer's remorse. As soon as I saw this bottom metal in good light, I knew the paint wasn't going to stay on it. Matter of fact, it shouldn't have even had paint on it. The reason it's got paint is because you can't blue pot metal. You can only blue steel, and that's what these used to have, was steel floor plates. As soon as I saw that paint, I knew it wasn't staying on there. I could just see how poorly the paint was on there to start with. And the first little bump I got on here, sure enough, it chipped off, so that was no surprise. Now, fortunately, the rest of this rifle is a Model 700, so it is a good rifle mechanically. I was just really disappointed in the fit and finish. But it's a shooter. It drives tacks. I mean, it's a solid rifle. But again, I was disappointed. So that was painful. But then it's been painful just from a nostalgia standpoint and seeing how much our culture's changed. Because basically that's what got Remington, our culture changing. And on the nostalgia part, okay, when I was young, growing up, the late 70s, early 80s, Remington that was pretty much the brand then. Okay, everybody was hunting, and Remington made hunting rifles and shotguns. Weren't that many pistols out there then. Matter of fact, when you went to a gun show then, you saw row after row after row of hunting rifles and shotguns. And then you'd see an occasional military rifle turned into a hunting rifle. And then you'd see more rows of hunting rifles. That's what you saw at gun shows then. You'd see a few pistols, handguns. You'd see a few Ruger semi-automatic 22s, Mark 1s. You would see a few 1911s, not many, and you'd see revolvers, a good many revolvers. That was about it. There really weren't many semi-automatic handguns then, and you might see a couple of ARs at a gun show, maybe. Just, that wasn't a thing then. Hunting was the thing. And as a matter of fact, in the U.S., the most hunting licenses ever sold was in 1982. So 1982, that was the peak of hunting. And at the same time, late 70s, early 80s, the economy here was not good. Okay, growing up back then, back when we had to walk 5 miles to school every day in the snow barefooted, uphill both ways. There wasn't a lot of money around here back then. The economy was just in bad shape. You had industry just absolutely collapsing in the north. The automotive industry shutting down, manufacturing, moving overseas, cheaper labor, or some of it moving down here to the south. And here in the South, hey, we'd always been poor. We'd been poor since the Civil War, or the War of Northern Aggression, as we call it. So there just wasn't much money back then, north or south, and the country was hurting economically. Right? For hunting rifles then, you had Brownings, Seikos, Weatherbys. Those were expensive rifles, and those were for people with money. Well, there wasn't many of us that had money. Okay, Winchester. Winchester was still recovering from 1964. And by the late 70s, they were making a really good rifle again. But they still hadn't recovered from 64. And that was a tough time for a company to be making a comeback. So you didn't see many Winchesters other than Model 94s. Right? I didn't see Savage, but the quality just wasn't there with the Savages then. So really and truly, for just working class people, if you wanted a good rifle or shotgun, you're pretty much getting a Remington, a Model 700. And Model 700 was the perfect rifle for that time. You had the ADL, which came with just a plain birch stock, basic, stripped down Model 700. But it was simple, it was reliable, and it shot good. Okay, and then you had the BDL, which was just the deluxe model that came with a nice walnut stock and floor plate. Again, same action, so it was simple, it was reliable, and it shot well. And either one of them, the ADL or the BDL, they came from the factory, more than accurate enough for hunting. But if you wanted either one of them to drive tacks, just do a bedding job on the stock, and both of them were tack drivers. So for the working class, Remington was the gun. And then let's see, Remington also had the Model 788 then, which was it was a budget rifle that you could only get in short actions, and it had rear locking lugs, so short action cartridges. And they had the 580 series 22s, just like this 581 right here that was made in the early 80s. Let's see here if I remember the safety. There we go. And this bolt here's got rear locking lugs on it. Even though this is a 22, it's actually got locking lugs in the rear. This is overkill, but it was built just like the Model 788s. And even though the 788s were cheap rifles, they were accurate. I mean, those guns would absolutely shoot. So for the working class, Remington was the gun. And I really thought a lot of Remington then. I really had a fondness for them. And one of my first rifles was part of it too. This Remington model 514 made in 1948. This is my first 22, so I really loved Remingtons, along with Winchesters, and because model 94, and I also mentioned FN in the past. And that was my three guns. And you had Rugers then too, but Ruger was still a new company then. I mean, they were getting popular. They just hadn't hit their strides yet because Ruger didn't come out till late 60s. So late 70s, they were only 10 years old. So they were, still building up. But that was what you saw back then as far as hunting rifles. And shotguns, Remington had the Model 1100 and the 870. So, for working class, that's as good a shotgun as you were going to get. And that's why Remington was in a great place at that time. I mean, they knew the market. But the market changed, and Remington didn't change with it. And the market went from hunting to long-range precision, tactical, personal defense. And ultimately, Remington not changing, that's what got Remington, not COVID. Now, I said that the market had changed and Remington didn't get it, and that's true, but mainly the marketing had changed, and that's what Remington didn't get. That was the big problem. Okay, for example, the 260 Remington and the 6.5 Creedmoor. The 260 Remington, it was marketed to hunters, and it came out 10 years before the 6.5 Creedmoor. And hunters looked at it and said, yeah, that's a nice cartridge, but it's a little weak. It's not, but that's a different conversation. Okay, the 6.5 Creedmoor came out. It was marketed as a long-range precision cartridge. The hunters jumped all over it. As a matter of fact, to listen to hunters talk now, I don't know how we managed to even kill a deer over 100 yards before the 6.5 Creedmoor came out. I mean, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Okay, 6.5 Creedmoor and the 260 Remington. It's the exact same bullet, and it's almost an identical case. The 6.5 Creedmour case is just ever so slightly shorter, so that it makes it easier loading the longest of the heavy 6.5 bullets. That's it. The biggest difference between those two cartridges is how they're spelled. Okay, and then the hunters that, all they talk about is how great the 6.5 is. Those are the same hunters that looked at the 260 Remington and said, yeah, that's a nice cartridge, but it's a little weak. Folks, that's the power of marketing. And that's something all of us need to be aware of because we're all susceptible to it. Marketing, that's why Bergara can come out with a clone of the Model 700, slap some new lipstick on it, and all of a sudden, that's a great rifle. You really should get one of those, but stay away from Remingtons. It's marketing. And that's all Bergara's done. And yeah, I keep hearing about how great their barrels are. But folks, Remington started as a barrel maker in 1816. That's what they made was barrels. I promise you, they know about barrels. Marketing. And yeah, I am disappointed at the fit and finish of Remington of late. But other than that, they still make a great firearm. It's just, they haven't got past the image of being a hunting rifle. And I can't tell you why. Back to marketing. The hunters don't want a hunting rifle anymore. Bottom line. Okay, I can't tell you what will happen there, but so anyway, the new owners of Remington, though, I'm really hoping, that they get it, and that Remington emerges from this stronger than ever. And, they change whatever needs to be changed as far as image, and they get their quality back. They get their quality back, I'll stand behind them all day long. And when I say quality, it's mainly fit and finish, but some of their other products of late are questionable. Okay, again, Model 700 is still pretty solid. If the new owners get the quality back, I'll be happy. And I think that's really all Remington needs, because I think a lot of us are starting to realize how much, marketing affects how we think. And how much of it is just, that's all it is marketing. And COVID, we don't know how COVID is going to change our society after this. I talked about hunting license. There are more hunting licenses sold in 1982 than any year, and it's dropped off drastically in hunting license sales since then. Not as many people are hunting. Well, the sale of hunting licenses went up this year. So if new owners, if they get their act together and get on top of their quality, hopefully when Remington firearms emerge from this, there might be a new generation of hunters waiting on them. I certainly hope so. Anyway, that whole Remington thing's just been bothering me, and I wanted to talk about that for a moment. So, and hey, don't forget to hit the like button if you like the video, and subscribe button. And if you want to see what we're doing next week, then hit the notification bell. God bless, and have a good day.